What is going on, everybody? Wednesday, July 9th. We're here for another Dynasty Startup mock draft. We're deep in the summertime. This is when it's the best time of year to do startup drafts, I think. It's really always a good time, but we're gonna do another startup mock today. I see some people in the chat already. Hope you guys are having a good day. Isaac is here with a what's up. He also said I was late. I did hit start streaming at 3 p.m., but there's maybe a little delay. So maybe I was a minute late. But we've got some people in chat here. I see some questions already. I don't mind knocking out a few questions before we get started with the draft today. It's going to be another Superflex, tight end premium, PPR. I will drop the link in the chat here in a few minutes. I did want you guys to pick, though, what draft slot should I draft from today? Because I was looking at the board. I didn't really know where I wanted to go with it, what I wanted to do. So it is a 3rd round reversal draft. And I'm going to just very quickly explain why I think 3rd round reversal is the best way to do things right now. But yeah, you guys let me know what draft slot you want me to pick. I think 3rd round reversal is basically all it means is that when you get to round 3, the draft order flips. And so the person at 101 gets the 212 and then the 312 and the 401, and everything else is the same from there. I think it does do a good job of leveling out the advantage that I still think exists from getting Jaden Daniels, getting Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen. Admittedly, the person who gets like the 4th pick, I think, gets kind of screwed. But yeah, I do think it's maybe a little bit more fair. I think it's closer than it used to be, but yeah, I do still think it's the best way. So I'm seeing a lot of different numbers here: 8, 11, 8, 1. My buddy Chris wants to see the 2 spot. He is the one and only mod in the Pure Potential Discord, so his opinion does carry a good bit of weight for me. Also, hey, if you guys are here, like the video. When it's over, leave a comment. If you're somehow here in the first 5 minutes and you're not a subscriber, just go ahead and subscribe. I promise you it's worthwhile. We're doing Dynasty content each and every week. I've got another fun strategy video that I'm cooking up right now. Should be out tomorrow or Friday. I can't get any consensus here on the numbers, but 2 of our YouTube members have said pick 2. Chris and Manster415, one of our newer members, want the 2 spot. So I think I'm probably gonna pick the 2 spot unless we get a big influx of other suggestions. Let me get some of these questions out of the way. Kevin Zhang says London or Nico Collins. I'm going Nico Collins here. I think he's just a little bit of a better wide receiver, more of a big play threat. I think that he has the higher upside of the 2, but I do love Drake London. I think they're both great options. Question from Caleb Snyder: would it be crazy to take both Warren and Loveland at 4-5 at the 4-5 turn, Superflex PPR, full point tight end premium? I think I would like to grab Loveland there. I suspect I'm maybe a little bit lower on Warren, and I'd probably just take Loveland and go with another position. But I don't think the 4-12 is too early to take Colston Loveland in that format with that heavy of a tight end premium. Brendan says, trying to upgrade to a new wide receiver from Worthy in a 2026 first. Off the top of my head, I have Worthy valued as like a late one type of guy. I think you could definitely get Rashee Rice. You probably shouldn't have to pay that much to get Rice. So maybe aim a little bit higher there. I would try for like a Nico Collins. I feel like he has a wide range of opinions depending on the league you're in. Ladd McConkey, I think would be doable for sure, or London. Those are some of the guys I would say for that type of a trade. Or see if you can throw in a little bit more and, you know, get up to a Lamb, Puka, Neighbors type of guy. But yeah. Sorry guys, my hair's doing something. It's bugging me. All right. I'm not going to delay this any longer, guys. You came here for the mock draft. I'm going to go ahead and get this thing fired up. I'm going to put myself in the 2 spot, and I'm going to get the link. I'm going to drop it in the chat here. So just get ready to click on it very quickly. Last question I'll address here, or maybe not the last one. I'm a liar. I just click on them when I see them. Who would you down tier from T. Higgins? So I actually prefer to use T. Higgins as a way to upgrade because he has such value right now. I would rather add to T. Higgins. I think you can get to Rashee Rice fairly easily. Ladd McConkey, Drake London, Nico Collins. Those are guys I'd be looking at that I think are priced close enough to T that you could get there pretty easily. Even AJ Brown, you know, add a little plus on top of Higgins. I think that gives you a little bit of a higher ceiling in Brown and a better player there. Manster, I have Breece and Trevion Henderson back to back, but I think I have Henderson just ahead of Breece. So the answer, I guess, is yeah, I would do that. And John Atlas said Ken Walker versus RJ Harvey. I think I also have these guys back to back. I have Walker like 1 or 2 spots ahead in my Dynasty rankings. So I think it could go either way. I think we have a better level of certainty that Walker's a good player in the NFL. I think Harvey has the benefit of that rookie contract, hasn't had any injury issues. Denver offense could be better than Seattle, but yeah, it's close. I do lean Walker just slightly. All right, so like I said, drop in that link. Here it comes. I hope you guys can fill that up. By the time you even hear me say, here comes the link, you'll already have this thing filled, I would imagine. I also did pin, I think I pinned it, the link to become a member. So if you're interested, this is not something that I necessarily pressure anyone to, especially because we've had a lot of signups lately, but the YouTube membership options, I think, for the channel are pretty interesting, especially this time of year if you're doing startup drafts. I have my top 200 Dynasty rankings available. They're in a spreadsheet. Every single player gets their own ranking and a positional ranking. They're sorted into trade value tiers. So I think of every player in terms of base picks, firsts and seconds and thirds. It goes up to like 240 players actually right now. I usually say top 200, but it goes beyond that. That's updated bi-weekly. Also have the members chat, which is getting more and more active every single day. A lot of really sharp managers in there that make it a value add even beyond me talking about it, because there are really smart people that talk Dynasty in there all day long beyond just me. They give good advice. And so, yeah, the Clubhouse is our members chat. It's a great place to be for sure. And then weekly live streams, stuff like this. We did another startup mock draft for the members last week, just like this. I do team breakdowns at times. I answer questions in the weekly live streams as well. So if that's interesting to you, you can sign up. You could try it for a month and cancel. Wouldn't hurt my feelings at all. But we're going to switch over to the mock draft view. We've got this thing filled up pretty good. I see a couple of members in here. Nikolai, I think Nikolai is a member. And then we've got Manster 415. We've got Austin. These guys are here. These members are here just to try to snipe all the players that I want. That's why they do it. They just pull up my rankings and take all the guys that I want to draft. But that's all right. I also need to turn the sound off, which is something I forget to do every single time. All right. Well, if you guys are ready to roll, we're going to start this draft. 30-second clock. We're going to see who I get here at the 2 spot. Remember, this is PPR. This is tight end premium. This is Superflex. If you want to imagine the starting lineup, it's a start 10 league. 3 wide receiver spots. So just keep that in mind. 3 wide receiver spots for this. I just turned off the sound. Why is it still making sound? There we go. All right, Jaden Daniels goes 101. I think that is the correct pick. Some people say it still needs to be Josh Allen. I'm not going to argue with you if you decide to take Josh Allen at the 101, but I would take Jaden Daniels if I was in that spot. I'm happy to get Allen at 2. I think Lamar at 3 is great as well. That's just the clear top 3 for me in any type of Superflex format, really, unless it's like a 2 tight end league or something. Then we're getting Chase. We're getting Jefferson here. Hurts. Nothing crazy. Nothing out of the ordinary yet. Bowers at 7 in tight end premium feels good. Although I did pretty much the exact same thing in the members only startup mock, and I ended up going Bowers. And then in the second round, I took Nico Collins. And what I realized in hindsight is I should have taken Jefferson instead of Bowers, because I think that the combination of Jefferson and McBride was a little bit more enticing than Bowers and Nico. Not by a ton for me, because I am very high on Bowers. I think he has the highest ceiling for sure. But in hindsight, I think I would have gone the other way there. I also saw in that mock draft, Neighbors went off the board as the wide receiver 2. I think there is kind of a compelling argument for Neighbors over Jefferson. I think it's like, it's not a hot take. I don't think, like, I'm not saying I would do it. I don't have him ranked that way, but I think it's defensible to actually take Neighbors over Jefferson, depending on your preferences. Very interesting picks at the turn here from J Slim 76. Feels like J Slim should have maybe grabbed a pick at the other end of the board, because London at the 112 over Puka, over Brian Thomas. That's a bit of a shocker. And then Trey McBride with the tight end premium, like, I get it. But I'd still be taking these wide receivers here pretty easily. That's not a combination that I've really seen out there. That's pretty interesting. We got an auto pick from Zenner. Zenner, you gotta lock in, buddy. We gotta get out of the auto pick here. We are in a mock draft. We gotta focus up here. You took that spot from somebody that could have had it. So hopefully Zenner comes back to us soon. We get Gibbs, we get Genty here in the second round, followed by Nico. Love Nico as that last wide receiver that goes typically of that group in the second round. Always feels like a value to whoever's getting him. I didn't really think he was going to come back around to me, but I can dream. Now, what always happens in these stupid drafts is the quarterbacks. I get pushed into quarterbacks because for some reason in mock drafts, nobody wants to draft quarterbacks. Here we go. I'm up in 2 picks. The clear top 2 players on the board, clear top 4 players on the board are all quarterbacks. And I never seem to be able to do the double quarterback start and really like my team at the end. I'm just not sure what I'm supposed to do here. If I'm not just going to ignore the value. Am I, like, unless I'm missing something, I just don't know who I'm supposed to draft here. I'm up on the clock. I think I'm just going to, no, see, even Ladd McConkey went. Like, what am I supposed to do with this? There's nobody to take that's not a quarterback, so I'm just going to have to do it. It feels so awful, though. I really don't want to. I didn't mean to auto pick that. I had him in my queue. It wasn't a real auto pick. He was in my queue. All right. Well, as always, we're doing this thing. I think you guys are a bunch of frauds. I think when you get in a real draft, you're not taking Ladd McConkey over Patrick Mahomes and Drake May and Justin Herbert. I think the fact that it's a mock draft and you don't actually have to live with the consequences of these teams pushes all the wide receivers up. That being said, I really don't love this start, as I always tend to say. And I'm sure the commenters who don't actually watch the video and then just go to the comments are going to be like, your team sucks. Yeah, I don't know. I think I'd prefer to just take the value here. Like, there wasn't a running back or wide receiver, and I'm curious what you guys would say. I didn't see a running back or a wide receiver that was worth taking over Herbert. When I'm thinking about, like, the value stability, what I can expect from that player in season. I'm going to be kicking myself when we get to the 4th and the 5th round, and the players I want to take are all quarterbacks. But I just don't really see what I would have done differently. And I think if I have to reach, I would rather reach later on skill players over the quarterbacks than reach right now in the back of the 2nd round when I feel much more confident about the quarterbacks and their production. So I'm going to have a late 3rd round pick here because of the 3rd round reversal. The 101 team is building something interesting. We've got London, McBride, Harrison. I love the Lamb, Thomas, McMillan start. I think Jay Brook is going to be in a good spot to double tap quarterback in the 4th and 5th round, especially with how the other half of the board looks with those 3 double quarterback starts. I think there's going to be some big fallers there for Jay Brooks, and he's going to have probably the best looking team when this is all said and done, because it always goes that way with the early wide receivers. That's always how it looks. So yeah, I mean, we're going to see Austin goes with the tight end, running back start. That's not something you see every day. No quarterbacks, no wide receivers through 3 rounds. I appreciate the bold. I appreciate trying out bold strategies when it's a mock draft, right? Just let it rip, see what happens. Let's see if he can land that plane, right? Sorry, I haven't caught up on the chat in a minute. I've been very sucked in by the drafting. Martin says, where would you take Bowers in a 1.0 tight end premium? I would take him at the 104. I would take him over any of the wide receivers. I think that is totally justified in such a heavy premium. Nikolai gets JSN at the 3.8. I'm not even a big JSN guy, but I think that's a nice value. And he gets the 3 wide receiver start as well with Jefferson, McConkey, and JSN. Love that. I think D-Bra 7 has the chance to really solidify himself as a top team. He took the guy that I would have taken, making my life a little bit more difficult with Travis Hunter. That's who I wanted. So now I have to kind of scramble and pivot. There's one more guy that I'd really like to get here that I think can help me start turning this thing around. We'll see if Manster lets me get him. He does. Okay, we get a really early Trevion Henderson pick. And I'm actually going to go ahead and grab Rashee Rice here at the 311. That's my highest ranked player. He's my 32nd overall player. My wide receiver 15. I've got him just behind Hunter and McMillan and JSN. So I'm going to grab Rashee Rice, finally start digging myself out of this hole at wide receiver. And then we'll see what comes back around to me. There's really no... That was kind of the last wide receiver for me that I was really very interested in. Like even Garrett Wilson, I have ranked a little bit lower than this, but he's not here. T. Higgins is gone. And this is another spot where I would like to be taking a quarterback realistically, or I'd like to be trading out. I don't have either of those options available to me. So knowing that, if I'm looking at the wide receivers, I'm looking at the running backs, to me, the clear best player on the board would be Bucky Irving. So that's what I'm going to take. Thank you, Dave. We'll see how much Rice can carry me after I've dug myself into this hole. Did have a question from Christian Garcia, another one of our newer members. In a startup, is trading a third for 2 2026 firsts good? I mean, if we look at this draft, right? Marvin Harrison, A.J. Brown, Ted McMillan, I think it is totally fine to trade any of those players for 2 first-round picks. I think if it was Ladd McConkey, I think if it was Drake May, arguably Caleb Williams, I'm a little bit more on the fence with him. I think if it was one of those types of guys, then it gets to be a little bit tighter. I'd want to know, how do those first project? Are either of those teams a little more fragile, potentially going to miss the playoffs? Because if they're both going to be late and they both look fairly late, then I would have some pause. But I'm taking 2 firsts for Marvin Harrison. I'm taking 2 firsts for A.J. Brown. No questions asked. So I think it just kind of depends on your options there. We have the opposite question about Bowers. Where does he go in a non-tight end premium? This is tough. You look at somewhere like Underdog, right? There's Underdog Fantasy. That's half PPR. So that's actually even more of a punishment to tight ends because they tend to have a lower yards per reception than most wide receivers. And so having that lower bonus for receptions actually hurts him even more. He's still a second rounder there. He goes shortly after Ladd McConkey, AJ Brown. So I don't think you want to penalize him too much. I think he still belongs in that early second round, early to mid second round, somewhere in the Brian Thomas, Amon-Ra St. Brown range, I think is where Bowers should be going in a non-tight end premium. But it's harder. I don't play as much non-tight end premium, so it's harder for me to really lock in on his value. Apple Pie with a really unfortunate Kyron Williams auto pick. I do like the value on Lawrence here in the fourth, Kyler in the fourth, Stroud in the fourth. This is where the quarterbacks are the best picks. I think Stroud, Murray, Lawrence, Purdy, and Love, all really strong picks. Fields, I feel like you could have gotten at the 6-12. So that one's a little bit tough for me to get on board with, especially with guys like Cam Ward, JJ McCarthy still there. Those are some tough clicks, I think. We get the Goff Laporta stack on the 4-5 turn for Rich Hill. Let's see what Jay Brook follows up with. I think he's got a really nice natural pick here that he can make. He seems like a sharp drafter. I'm sure he'll land on it. Martin says, I traded Adams in my 26 first for Rice. Heavy contender having Puka. I think that's a pretty fair deal. I'm not really avoiding having players on the same team if I think that it's a really, strong offense, especially one like the Rams where it's going to be funneled so heavily to those two players. So I'm not really against having Puka and Adams, but I think that's a good value move for Rashee Rice. You get a lot younger. Apple Pie comes in with another running back pick. Burrow, Gibbs, Barkley, Kyron, Judkins. You've got the two flexes filled out, the two running back spots filled out. Probably need to take a break on running back there. Austin gets his second quarterback with Cam Ward. I just love this start. This is such a good start, man. I would love this in every draft. Lamb, Thomas, McMillan, Love, McCarthy. I understand why people say that having the back end of the draft and the third round reversal is a bit of a cheat code. I totally admit it does lead to the nicest looking rosters at the end. I do still think that people are going to come around on these top quarterbacks once the season starts and the points are being scored because they're just so good. But I do understand the appeal. And once again, I come up on the board at 5'11", irritated. I'm not going to be able to draft, I'm not going to be able to draft Dak. I'm not going to be able to draft Penix. Those are not guys that are really options for me because of how I've started building my team. I could take an extra quarterback and just try to figure it out later, but it's not what I want to be doing. There goes Loveland as well, who's another guy that I was considering. And when I look at who I have ranked the highest here, this is not a range I want to be picking at the top of. I feel very hamstrung when I can't trade in these drafts because I don't want to be picking at the top of this group. I don't want to be taking, the highest drafted wide receiver here that I'm going to draft right now is going to elicit disdain from the entire room, but it has to be done. I have no recourse. I am drafting Chris Olave, and there's nothing you can do about it. I don't want to draft Chris Olave there, just to be clear. I want to draft Chris Olave at the end of the 6th round, and I want to be trading back for people that have their preference amongst these options, but I would have taken Ibuka. I would have taken Loveland. Would have taken a few guys that were there, but I want to take a wide receiver. He sticks out to me as the best one, where the reasons that he goes later are not really due to his ability, at least not for the people that truly know what his ability is. It's really just him being pushed down for situational reasons. And then we're going to face the same issue coming up here at 6'2". We'll see what falls to me. Okay, Zay Flowers goes. Those two picks make me feel better about Olave for sure. And then it's really between a couple of guys. Okay, we're going to do this. I wish I had gotten Mahomes now. We're going to double up on Chiefs wide receivers, and we're going to say the Kansas City Chiefs are getting back to the 2022 version. Patrick Mahomes is going to throw 5,000 yards. both of these guys are going to feast. Yeah, we'll see. Aaron, I don't really agree with this. I mean, I don't think Henderson should have gone as high as he did. I think Henderson really belongs more in that like early to mid 4th round, like 4-5, 4-6. I don't really agree though that Judkins should be going right beside him. I think there's a bit of a tier break there, at least a half a tier. Jeff Gagney asks, what's your stance on Psycho going back-to-back vet running back picks here? Yeah, he goes Taylor, McCaffrey. I don't have a huge issue with the McCaffrey pick. That's kind of the tier that I have him in. Taylor's a guy I'm a little bit lower on than the market, and I really don't love drafting him over Lawrence, Purdy, Love, especially when you don't have that second quarterback yet. I think I would rather have grabbed Lawrence, because you look at I think having Lawrence or McCarthy, whoever your favorite is there, and then getting Jacobs in round 6, or Walker if that's your preference, or Harvey, I think that's a better 2v2 than having Taylor and Prescott personally. But can't fault it too much. Apple Pie, are you doing a bit right now? Is this a bit? Are you trolling us with these running back picks? This is a ridiculous looking team. This is crazy, dude. All right. Love the value on Walker here. Dude, John Atlas is absolutely killing this draft. I believe that's who he said he was in the chat. He is cooking this draft right now. Kenneth Walker, 6th round, RB1. Love that. Braden says, currently on the clock in my first startup. Hey, man, hope you're having a good time. 7-12 and the best guys on the board are Chuba, Tyreek, Kamara, Judy Evans. Hurting for wide receiver. Do I take Tyreek at this price? I believe Tyreek is my highest ranked guy there. It's either Tyreek or Chuba Hubbard there. I think they're both pretty interchangeable. My best guys on the board versus your best guys on the board might not be the same. But of those 5 options you've given me, I do think taking Tyreek there, especially if you have a wide receiver need, is a totally reasonable thing to do. Yeah. 1.75 tight end premium, Superflex 10 team. Should I take CD or Bowers? I would take Bowers there, because you have, first of all, you have more in 10 teamers. You want as many stars in your, I mean, you always want as many stars in your lineup as possible, but the lesser the teams there are, the more shallow it is, the higher the replacement level is going to be. So having that advantage at tight end, I think, is going to help you a little bit more. And I already have Bowers over Lamb in 1.5 tight end premium. So 1.75 just makes it even more tantalizing. I think 1.75, you're starting to get to the range where like Bowers could realistically just outscore CeeDee Lamb. Like, it's totally possible with that high of a premium. We get some players I don't particularly love here in the 7th round. DJ Moore, Austin, pretty atrocious pick there. You know how I feel about DJ Moore. TJ Hawkinson, James Cook. These guys are all kind of just whatever, I think. Let me see what we're looking at when I get back here. I wish Jalen Waddle was still there. People are too hip to Waddle now that Johnny was out of town. Looking at the running backs that went, oh, George Pickens is gone. I don't know why I would miss that. Once again, quarterback is a strong pick on the board here. Kittle is gone. I'm just gonna follow my heart here. We've still got to dig ourselves out of this hole at wide receiver. So we're going to go with Josh Downs. Technically had a quarterback on the board that is ranked ahead. I'm totally fine punting my quarterback 3 here in this situation. Trying to give myself the firepower to recover here in this start 3 wide receiver league. I need guys that I can play. I need bodies at the position. So we went with Josh Downs. And I've got two guys I'm happy with here, depending on who comes back. We're kind of rounding the halfway point here of the mock. So it's going to be interesting to see how these teams start to come together. We're getting into that kind of quarterback dead zone window. There's not going to be too many more guys that come off the board. I'm going to grab another wide receiver, I think, that has a lot of upside in Luther Burden. And, you know, I'm starting to not really hate this group. I've got upside, scoring upside in Rice, got Burden, Downs. I don't know. It's young. It's exciting. I think it's going to be at least passable production there. Let's see. Martin says, will London be a top 5 wide receiver this season? I'm going to go with no. I think Chase, Jefferson, Neighbors, Lamb, Puka, Nico, St. Brown, Thomas are all guys that I would say I feel pretty good about outscoring him. Probably in that wide receiver 9 to 12 range would be my expectation, but who knows? I mean, maybe the chemistry with Penix is just so good. Maybe he runs hot on touchdowns. It's not impossible for by any stretch for him to do that. Donovan says, can you talk about the difference in how you build teams in a start 9 versus start 11? So start 9. So the idea, basically, the less starters you have, the more you should care about upside and the less you should care about floor. Because you're going to have an easier time replacing starters if the league has fewer starters overall, right? Like the players that are going to be on your bench are a lot more usable in a start 9 than a start 11. So you're always going to have guys that you can fall back on to play if somebody fails. But what you can't always replace is that true league winning type of upside. And so you want to be leaning into high variance players. Like someone like Luther Burden, to me, a guy that I think has a ton of upside, a scoring upside, but maybe is more volatile, has some red flags, obviously could fail. I'm going to be prioritizing that type of a profile over somebody like a Jerry Jeudy, over somebody like even a Jameson Williams, who I, maybe subjectively, but I personally question how much higher his ceiling is relative to what he did last year. Over like a Chuba Hubbard type even, who you look at Chuba Hubbard and you're like, he's going to get a ton of touches. He can give me that solid RB2. Sure. But think about how many running backs are going to be on the bench now that it's only a start 9. You're going to have an easier time going out and getting whatever starters seem to pop up throughout the season that are giving you 13, 14 points per game for as long as they are inserted as starters. And all of a sudden Chuba giving you, 15 and a half doesn't feel like that much of an advantage. So basically I'm leaning into more high variance picks. I'm leaning into the highest upside. I'm trying to make trades to get more elite assets. So like consolidating picks, like trying to move up in a startup into the top 2 or 3 rounds to get an extra guy that I can, and sacrificing some of those middle rounds. That's how I look at it with smaller lineups. 2-for-1 trades, 3-for-1 trades, devaluing depth essentially. Brad Owen says, I traded Romeo Doubs in the 208 for Josh Downs. You stole him. I don't know. I mean, half PPR, the half PPR makes it kind of a bummer. And because it's a 10-teamer, it's more like the 206. So maybe not a steal, because at the 206, you can potentially get like Trey Harris or Jaden Higgins. I don't think those guys are really much worse bets than Josh Downs, but I also think Romeo Doubs is completely 100% worthless in a 10-team half PPR league. Like I think he should be on waivers. So you basically traded the 208 for Downs. I think that's a totally fair deal. They shouldn't be clowning on you by any stretch. Anyway, we've had a nice little run of receivers while I've been talking. Tua comes off the board finally at 8.5. I think that's a good value. Dart at the 9.04, maybe an even better value. But then all these wide receivers, or at least most of them, I do like a lot at these prices. Adams, Hill, Jeudy I'm a little bit lower on. I can talk about that after this turn. I'm a little bit lower on Jeudy, just some data that I've been looking at. It's really, really dried up at wide receiver lately, so I'm kind of glad that I got my guys the last time around. And now I'm just looking at who can I add to this team at other positions. David Njoku's a sharp pick there. Like that a lot. Smart one. Yeah. So this is interesting to me. I think there's 2 guys I could go with. Well, I mean, there's more than 2 guys. There's a couple guys I like. Let me just check the ranks real quick. Don't want to look stupid here. Mixon goes. Okay. Yeah, I'll go. I'm gonna go Mark Andrews here at the 9-11. Fill out that spot. And then, yeah, I mean, there's some decent players that I could look at. Trying to figure out what might come back around to me. Tucker Kraft is another guy I considered. I struggle with the Kraft type because he just wasn't a good target earner last year. I understand the passing volume could come up for Green Bay, but I don't know how much higher the target earning is going to be when he was already a pretty old year 2 player with really weak target competition last year. Now they get, they get Golden in the building. I don't know. It's hard to say. I'm just going to lock down RB2 here with old reliable James Conner. One day Father Time's going to come for James Conner. I'm hoping it's not this year. I've got a lot of teams with Conner. Follow up from Donovan on his Start 9 league. He said, I took that advice, consolidated to up tier, Neighbors, Puka, London, Bijan, Lamb. Yeah, I mean, that's how you turn yourself into a perennial bye-week contender. You need to be comfortable being a little bit shallow on the bench and just kind of trust that your guys are going to stay healthy. And if they don't, then they don't. You're not always going to win. But I don't think this half measure of having, an extra Ricky Pearsall on your bench or an extra Calvin Ridley on your bench, that's not really winning you the league either. So I think you just need to kind of go in with your star players and hope that they can get it done for you. I think that's a good strategy. Chris did say he's really liking the 101 team. I can't disagree with you too much here. Daniels, Nix, Achane, Higgins, Devonta, Flowers. I mean, I think the wide receiver core is a little bit weak, but I'm not really one to talk. Hubbard, Kamara, Kraft, Geno. I mean, I think every player was taken at reasonable value. Can't complain about any of those picks. It'll be interesting to see how he lands the plane. Austin's gone 5 straight wide receivers after starting with 5 straight non-wide receivers. He's got a decent blend here of youth and immediate production in Pickens and Moore and Hill and Harris and Myers. I think he should have taken somebody other than DJ Moore personally, but that's my own little vendetta. What teams have we not really looked at much? Nikolai's I really like his wide receiver room. I like his quarterback room too. All of those guys feel like good values where they were picked. David Njoku is a ball nowhere pick for sure. You guys are going to make me throw up with the Dalton Kincaid, Kyle Pitts picks in round 10. I don't get it. I don't get why we're still messing around with these guys. Especially Rich. I would expect better here, buddy. You've already got a tight end. Why are we reaching on Kyle Pitts in round 10? Maybe round 15 we can talk, but my goodness. That's a rough scene. Probably decent value there on Darnold. He's got to go eventually. This is where the draft starts to get utterly disgusting, I feel like. Where I really just don't know what to do here. Pittman's a good pick. Apple Pie quietly riding the ship at wide receiver. He's got Waddle, Judy, Godwin, Pittman. Not a lot of ceiling there maybe, but he's got some guys, right? There's some guys that can get him through, and he just needs to hope that his running back hammers can get it done. And obviously he's going to have to try to flip one of those running backs after the draft to get somebody he can use. Now I'm looking at, I have actually a pretty interesting pick that I could make. I wonder how it'll go down. I don't think anybody will like it. Let's see. Yeah, all the wide receivers getting pushed up here for sure. None of my top available guys are wide receivers, but I have 5, so I'm okay with that. I only have 2 running backs. I can definitely add another one. Oh, there is a wide receiver here that I don't mind. At 11th round cost, I don't mind. Okay, there goes Spears. I guess my video did sway somebody on Spears. Nikolai goes to auto pick. I think he had that pick queued up, though, because he wasn't at the top. Diggs is the one I wanted. DeBra 7. Get out of my head, man. Get out of my head. That's a good one. Diggs at 11-9 is a good pick. All right. Let me queue up a few more guys here that I do like. Maybe we get a little crazy here. Round 11, why not? Why don't we just live a little bit? I can find low-end RB2s. I can find wide receiver 4s. Let's go ahead and swing big here on a guy who might not even play this year, Jalen Milroe. 11th round pick, why not? Okay, well now I kind of regret it because I thought I was going to get Mooney on the way back, and now I didn't. So I shouldn't have underestimated. I don't know how to say his name here at the one spot. Minot 4. I don't know how to say that. Either way, good pick on Mooney. I like that one. Shouldn't have underestimated you. Let's see what I get here on the way back. I wonder if he would have taken Milroe because it's about that time. I mean, the other there's no more quarterbacks that are worth taking. I'm just gonna grab another body in the running back room, Tyrone Tracy. Who knows? Maybe he's still the starter. He was okay as a rookie. A little while ago, Darice Rocket, hope you're still in the chat here, asked Puka or Brian Thomas and why. I have Puka just ahead. I really don't think that it's a big deal either way. I think you can take either guy. I think we've seen Puka demonstrate a higher ceiling so far, like in terms of his per route numbers. You look, his numbers last year were kind of insane. If you look at yards per out run, targets per out run, he didn't play full games every week because he had some injuries. But if you actually look on a per out basis, he was kind of the best wide receiver in the NFL. He just, obviously some of it has to do with McVay and some of it has to do with Stafford knowing how to kind of lock in on his guys. But Puka is just so insanely good, and he dominates targets unlike almost anyone else in the league. So that's why I do have a slight nod to Mr. Nakua. Nobody has said anything about my Milroe pick. I'm kind of offended. Like, can we get some I don't care if it's positive or negative, but can we just say, like, yes or no, yay or nay? Are we in on that pick? Who should I have taken instead? Kevin Lee, I'm not doing another mock today. Unfortunately, going to have to get out of here. Definitely by 4. I'm going to need to get out of here. So won't be able to run another mock today. We'll try to talk about this one a little bit, answer some questions at the end. But if there's interest, guys, leave a comment after the stream. If you want more of these, I'm happy to do them more often. But yeah, this has been a good one so far. Looking in at the back end of the board, we get some gross picks, but you know, it's always gross here in the 12th, 13th round. Anthony Richardson, I guess he should go eventually. Still feels a little bit early for me. Shaheed, Benson, Blue, we're getting some handcuff running backs, some rookies with unclear roles. Xavier Legette, J.K. Dobbins. It's a little nasty here. What did I miss? I missed a question. Where did I skip a question from? Oh, there it is. Listen here, Typhlosion Gaming. The snark will get you nowhere, but I guess it is getting you somewhere because I did scroll back up to find your question. 10-team redraft league. 10-team redraft league. This is a dynasty show, sir. The 109, 202, 204. I'm thinking of getting Amon-Ra, Neighbors, and Lamb. What do you think? What do I think? Getting 3 top 5-ish wide receivers with your first 3 picks. I think that's a good strategy, actually. Yeah. I don't think you need my help with that one, buddy. I think that seems pretty clear to me. Apple pie. After the Kyron Williams pick, I doubted you, but you have established yourself as a true ball knower with the Daniel Jones pick in round 13. Good stuff. Great QB3. Can't believe you're getting a quarterback who's going to rush for like 700 yards this year in the 13th round. Unreal stuff. I guess I'm rolling with Milroe as my QB3. There's a couple options left, but they're really disgusting. Kevin says Milroe most likely nothing in the NFL. I don't know if I'd say most likely nothing. I think I'd give him a better than 50% chance of starting games at some point. I think one outcome that's like pretty easy to envision. I'll get to it after this pick because I do have to figure out who I'm taking here. I do think there are some outs for him that are like not that hard to picture. Are there any good players left on the board here? What am I supposed to draft here? '13th round. What are we looking at? Jalen Knowles off the board. T. Ferg is off the board. Daniel Jones, Tyjae Spears, Keon Coleman. All these guys are long gone. A couple more tight ends I could look at, I guess. Yeah, I mean it's getting pretty gnarly in here. I think I'm gonna make a pick that I'm gonna call a little bit of a reach. Oh shoot, I'm running out of time. I'm just gonna swing for a little bit of upside here with Harold Fannin. I could have taken a safer tight end, but I'm already going the safe tight end route with Mark Andrews. I feel like I don't need two of those guys. I can always go out and get a Hunter Henry type of player mid-season. So, yeah, we're not going to be messing around with any of that. Then we're going to come back around on another pick here. I don't really want to take another tight end, although that would be my highest ranked guy. Even Coker is gone. That's kind of interesting. So I could go tight end here. I think Jake Ferguson, Mason Taylor, those are reasonable picks. I'm just going to grab one more wide receiver to maybe swing for some type of a ceiling and see if we can close this thing out on a good note in the round 15. Excuse me. Chris Kepner says, I'd love to see one of these mocks go straight through to round 25 or 30. No one ever shows the back end. I mean, the truth about startup mocks is like, or startup drafts is really everybody you take after like round 21 or 22 is just like a guy that you're going to cut. They're not real players. Like it gets really nasty. I could see going up to 20 rounds. I think there's still interesting guys on the board after 15. Honestly, the reason I've landed at 15 is just that it fits on the screen here, and I like that it fits nicely on the screen. I could see going a little bit further. I don't know about Milroe being a reach, though. I mean, he was my highest ranked guy there, and I could see going Mooney or Tracy, but it's like at a certain point in Superflex, like, yes, obviously it's a remote outcome for Milroe to hit, but my vision for this, Sam Darnold is not very good. And he was good last year in a KOC offense with the best weapons in the league. He has much worse weapons this year. He has a much worse line, or at least somewhat worse line. I think he has a worse play caller. Cautiously optimistic on Kubiak, but he's not KOC yet. I think it's totally possible that he struggles this year. He's essentially on a one-year deal. If the Seahawks struggle, manage to win a handful of games because of their defense, because of Kenneth Walker, whatever, I could see them being out of the mix for one of the top quarterbacks in 2026, but also being firmly out on Sam Darnold. And at that point, I think it's feasible that they could just say, okay, Jalen Milroe, we're going to let you be the week 1 starter, or at least he's in a quarterback battle with some other rookie they take in like the mid to late first or whatever, second round. And he at least gets his shot. And the thing about Jalen Milroe, unlike another rookie quarterback, is anytime that he is named, like if he's a starter, if he's on the field, he is going to project as one of the best quarterback options for the week because of how much he's going to run. So I think that we have to consider not just the likelihood of a hit, but also the magnitude of a hit. Like, yes, is Tyrone Tracy or Darnell Mooney more likely to hit a semi-favorable outcome than Jalen Milroe? For sure. They're going to play a lot more. They're going to have that opportunity. But what are you actually getting from those guys? Like, I put out the video with James Conner on the thumbnail about, does James Conner matter? Is he a worthless player? And basically the idea was he was not swinging the outcomes of games. And it's not because he was bad. It's just because it's really hard for one individual player that's not like a total league winning type of asset to give you that type of an upside, that type of an outcome. And so do I want to prioritize the small wins with Tracy or Mooney? Are those small wins enough to add up to a championship? Or do I want to take some calculated big swings on players like Milroe, knowing that most of the time they're not going to hit? And I think just being okay with that fact. Don't really love the board here. I'm just going to grab a guy I think is fine to flex and fine to play if I need him, and Dallas Goedert. Could have gone a number of different ways there with handcuff running backs like DJ Giddens. Who else was there? DJ Giddens or Dylan Sampson. Actually, Sampson was gone too. People went really deep on the running backs at the end there. So yeah, Goddard would have been my highest ranked. Would have had to go all the way down to who would have been my next best? Tyler Algier? Did he go? Yeah, maybe Algier or Giddens, Rashad White. It was pretty rough. It was pretty rough at running back at that point. So whatever, you can flex tight ends and tight end premium. It's fine. Let me catch up on some of these questions here to close things out. Rich Hill says, thanks for the mock. Hey, no problem at all. Let's see how your team turned out here, Rich Hill. Bijan, Puka, AJ Brown, Sam Laporta, and Goff. Not my favorite values on the board, if I'm being honest. Not my favorite values, but I get the idea there. The stack is fun. Derrick Henry at the 6'11". Not a bad price. I think it's cheaper than you can usually get him for. And then Bryce Young, Jaden Higgins, Keon Coleman, Kyle Pitts, Sam Darnold, Trey Benson, Xavier Leggett, Jarquez Hunter. I like what you're trying to do here with the mixing in the upside plays with enough maybe immediate production from guys like Henry, guys like Goff and Brown and Puka to potentially compete this year. I can't say that your upside picks were my favorites. I'm not into Keon Coleman. I'm not really into Kyle Pitts, not into Xavier Leggett. I think Chigakonkwo is a better best ball pick, but all in all, definitely not the worst team I've seen. It's got good balance to it. Dynasty Dave says, hey, I appreciate that. Excellent breakdown from Milroe. Persuasive. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. Yeah, I have him ranked kind of aggressively. I just think I want to give myself a chance to win on the guys that matter the most. Let's see here. I'll talk about a couple of these picks, a couple of these teams. I just want to make sure I caught up on questions that I had missed. Typhlosion. Oh, it was a Superflex redraft league. Interesting. That is interesting, actually. The question I answered about the redraft league, I didn't realize that was Superflex. I could see taking Hurts over one of those wide receivers. All right, Taylor Ashton, 12-team Superflex question, start 9 league. Any advice where no one is willing to trade their top guys? Mainly been stashing picks. Yeah, it kind of depends on the league dynamic. I think you can go into the year as kind of a dark horse player, just try to get by with cheaper assets, and then you go to the teams that start out, 0-3, 1-4, that happen to have some star players, and you want to start circling like a vulture and be ready to swoop in when they finally pull the plug on their team. Some leagues are too stubborn, like players won't do that. They'll just keep plugging along the whole season and not have the self-awareness to throw in the towel and just tank, but there's usually a couple of teams, I think, in every league that are going to just kind of fall out of the race. They're going to have somebody like an AJ Brown. They're going to have somebody like a Devon Achane. And then you're like, hey, I have some picks. Let me get that guy. And having those picks ready to go is going to give you the best chance of stealing that player away, because they're going to be looking for picks, not players. So I think you can be patient in that spot. Martin Holcast, would you rather buy Achane or Bucky as a contender? I think Achane projects better for this year, especially with the Jonnu trade. I have them ranked fairly close, but I would pick Achane. You might get I think at cost in some leagues, you're going to get Bucky just at enough of a discount relative to Achane that he might be the best place to go. But if you're just asking who's going to score more, I would pick Devon Achane. Miles Jacob, what's a good place to find paid Dynasty startup leagues? The Pure Potential Discord, which is free to join, it's down in the description, has a league, find a league channel, and startup drafts spawn from that channel all the time. You can also go into the Fantasy Flock Discord, and they advertise a lot of league openings there. So Fantasy Flock, Pure Potential, and then I believe the BDGE Discord was doing Dynasty leagues. I don't know if they still are right now, but I've joined one in the past. They kind of help you get set up with a league with league mates and make sure everybody pays and whatever. So that was a good spot as well. I've heard things about Reddit where you can get like really good values on players because people are just kind of vibing. I question how long those leagues are going to actually last for, and I'd be wary of trusting the people that are looking around for those leagues. So that would be my caution about going to the Dynasty subreddit. Chris Kepner asks, who would be the best productive wide receiver target for a 2-year contending window? Sutton has contract uncertainty. Hill and Adams might only have a year left. I mean, I would be totally happy to go out and get an Adams or a Hill. I don't necessarily think about my teams in terms of, I have 1 year, I have 2 years. I prefer to just take it year by year, because I just think it's so hard to predict what things are going to look like in a year. Like, Adams is probably going to outscore Sutton and a lot of other guys you could look at as 2-year options this year. I would rather just prioritize this year and then deal with next year when we get to next year. That's how I would see it. And so really the question for me is, am I competing now or am I not competing now? If I'm competing now, I want Adams. To a slightly lesser extent, I want Tyreek Hill. I think he's a little bit scarier just because he showed maybe more evidence of decline. As a cheaper option that's not going to give you the same type of high-end upside, I like Juwan Jennings. I like Michael Pittman. I think Stephon Diggs is a guy to take a stab on. Sutton is fine. I think he's priced appropriately for what he's likely to give you. Or I'm paying up, paying up for like a Rashee Rice type of player. So... oh, it's Minotaur Edits. I figured it out now. I can read it now. Nobody helped me out with that one. Minotaur Edits, early pick with the 3rd round reversal felt brutal. Yeah, I agree. It does kind of hurt. It looks worse than it is, though, I think. Especially when you factor in, like, in a real draft, being able to trade around, being able to make trades after the draft, and you're just sort of collecting value. I don't think it's that bad. You get Jaden Daniels. That never hurts. And I think your team came out pretty well. Definitely weakest at wide receiver, but not a bad all-around team. Obviously could compete as a playoff team in year 1. So yeah, that's a good one, guys. This was a fun mock. They're always a little bit different. Appreciate you guys participating. Those of you that weren't able to get into a mock, let me know if you want me to do this again soon. Leave a comment. The more positive feedback we get on doing the mocks, the more inclined I will be to keep them coming. Just a quick reminder before we get out of here, unless there's more questions, link to sign up as a Pure Potential member is pinned in the chat. You can see the perks there listed on the screen. There also is a link to Dynasty Team Breakdown request form in the description. If you want me to break down your Dynasty team in detail, tell you what I think your team direction should be for this year, who you should be trading for, trading away, how to address positional needs, that kind of thing. I do offer that as a service. If you're interested, link in the description. Hit subscribe on the video if you've hung out with me this whole time and you haven't subscribed yet, why not? Just go for it. So anyway, thanks guys for participating. Looks like we're good to get out of here. So hope you guys have a great day. Keep your eyes peeled. The next couple of days, I will be sharing a new Dynasty strategy video. All right. Have a good one, everybody.